Welcome to the Science and Paranormal with Dr. Yana and Dr. Elliot, where science meets the unexpected, where we delve deep into the mysteries that straddle the line between scientific inquiry and paranormal. Get ready for a mind-altering journey as we embark on this phenomenal discovery together on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM.
All right.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are back with us again on Science and Paranormal on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM with myself, Dr. Yana, and fabulous Dr. Elliot, and our amazing, beautiful guest today, Aida Agic.
Thank you.
Aida is joining us today from Sarajevo, from Bosnia.
It's 4 a.m. her time, so I cannot complain about it being late tonight.
Like what, 11 o'clock? Yes, exactly.
Only 11 o'clock here, so she wins the cake tonight.
Which you are going to cook. You're going to make that cake.
I can try.
Dr. Elliot is a fantastic chef.
I do. I cook almost every day. Yeah.
That's incredible. That would have been so difficult to live with you because you cook all that amazing food and then would be so tempting to eat it.
It's so true.
Yes. So 4 o'clock in the morning. Thank you so much for joining us today, Aida.
Yes, thank
you.
My
pleasure. It's my pleasure, especially with such a topics. And I'm very glad that I had a chance to join you to share my stories, experience, knowledge, and so on.
That is wonderful. Let me tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about you. Aida has over 20 years exploring paranormal phenomena. She has a first-hand experience as both as a researcher and as a subject, which is so interesting, and we will just delve into that today. She possesses a master's degree in business economics and bachelor's in economics, like many of us when we come from so many different backgrounds into the understanding and research of the paranormal. Since then, she expanded her knowledge by completing courses in parapsychology. So her unique blend of academic insight and personal experience makes her a compelling figure in the study of the unseen, driving her to understand the mysteries that lie beyond the conventional. Now, Aida, we are going to ask you so many questions because what you do is so very interesting.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I'm here to answer all the questions.
I know that you have worked a lot in understanding of the role of the curses in the paranormal activity. And we, a lot of the times, we talk about paranormal experiences. We try to justify the happenings, whether just the regular occurrence caused by the physical events or a true paranormal experience. But not that often we talk about the role of the curses. So what brought you to that, in the investigation of this topic?
Well, actually, at the age of 18, when I was 18 years old, I used to live in the United States. And before that, during the war and right after the war, at a very young age, I was experiencing some kind of, let's say, ghost, so-called ghost at that time. And I didn't pay much attention to it. It was like, okay, at teenage age, you may have some, hormonal changes, or you may have some imagination. So first contact when I was in the United States, and right after I returned from United States, when I had the first case that was like strictly hit me, After that, I started to investigate a little bit and to gain a knowledge about it. So my first experience was when I was in the United States. I remember it was in San Jose, California, one complex of the apartments, and it was right, I believe, 5 minutes after the midnight. And we were parking a car, and for a second, I felt like something is calling me. And I turned my back around, and there was like two walls and a fence. And those two walls was very high, like over 2 meters high. And I saw an Indian, Indian figure dressed
The
like an
Native
Indian.
American. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I was like, at the moment I looked and I turned my head, I didn't get scared that much because I thought it's my imagination. And when I looked back, it was gone. But I felt some kind of, like strange energy at the time. And I remember when I shared that moment, I saw a ghost and it was Indian. The first thing that I faced was judgment. They called me crazy. They called me nuts. They told me to go to visit psychiatric, and I was like, okay, fine. I didn't pay much attention. And later on, when I returned back to Bosnia, like maybe less than a year, I faced with a very strong and powerful type of magic, black magic, that was brought to me, to my house, from the family that I separate with, in accordance to make me lose my mind. That to that certain, then when I deliver my son, I was seeing a shadows during the daytime, and and yet people was judging and accusing me that I still have some, post-birthal syndrome, that like, oh, she's young, she gave a birth, oh, she's imagining, oh, that's, hallucination. And still they were trying to send me to see a doctor, And until all of these experiences and all of these afraid that I went through, until I found this and
Now, Aida,
destroyed.
I'm sure that many of our listeners and viewers are aware of the war and the timeline of the time that you went through during the war. Could you tell us a little bit that historical period? What kind of war it was?
Actually, it was a war when the ex-Yugoslavia, got separated, and it was, for me and through my point of view, was a religious war. It was actually just to execute the Muslim population. Maybe somebody will, get angry for this, but even now through the history, and even now after 30 years, we still discuss about these things, that the religion was the main cause of the, war that happens, and for the countries to get separated and independent, to be ruled by the different, rulers, not one. So
that was such an incredible time, incredible in a very negative implication, because that was one country, Yugoslavia. However, it was divided into two, and that was essentially the civil war between the two brothers nations. And politics is a horrible thing. And what people go through, of course, there's a post-traumatic stress disorder that we talk about, of course. And a lot of those paranormal experiences that people have during the war and even post-war, they can be attributed to severe stress that was happening at the war. However, in my understanding, that yes, there can be splitting, yes, there can be dissociation and depersonalization, but if you experience that also when you were a child and during the times before the war and after the war, we can talk that those are authentic experiences. And unfortunately, a lot of people around us, they don't immediately believe our experiences and they are ready to judge. So I'm sorry that you went through that.
Yes,
And you
that's right.
said too that Bosnia, you find the culture in Bosnia, they're not really open to the paranormal or paranormal experiences. Is
Oh,
that
they're pretty much open, I'm sure, right, Aida?
Well,
Because of all the curses, because of the black magic, people do that quite often, my understanding.
um, well, to tell you the truth, maybe more than 50% of the people still denies it existence. We do not have, and I do not know anyone who call himself a medium spiritualist who is kind of getting in touch with the dead ones. We do not have here. I don't know even the countries around that have such a things. We do have fortune tellers. We do have like healers, real ones and fake ones. But paranormal, even if last week I had one occasions when I was discussing with, let's say, around 10 people who are extremely religious. And when I was mentioning specific story, you know how they reacted? Part of them were laughing. Part of them were saying like, it's a fake. It's maybe kind of imagination. No, they do not believe in magic. They do not believe in ghosts. They do not believe in any kind of things. And then I realized, okay, these people, they do not believe because they never had a chance to face it, to feel it on their own skin. But those who had a contact with it, they say, yes, it's right. Yes, we do believe. But only things that we do not believe here in the region, let's say Balkan, maybe Eastern countries as well. We do not believe in so-called like dead souls that walks among us, dead souls that you can get in touch with, you know, our relatives and family that passed away. We do not believe this. This is 100% sure that most of the Balkan countries and people from there, they would say no. But they believe in magic and they believe in fortune tellers, you know, and most of them, like, they accept the paranormal and they, but as far through my years of experience, I realize only those who face it on their own skin, who had a contact with it, they approve it and they believe it. But the rest of the people, even the most religious one, they will deny it, existence of paranormal.
But 50% is a large percentage.
Because magic here, especially after the war, became a business. Became a business where people find a way of learning money very easily, you know, and it spread around. Now you have like even advertisement of the people who are fortune tellers, who perform types of magic, and people, desperate people who are looking for some kind of way to get in touch with the ex ones or get in touch with the, you know, like to get a job or these kind of things, visit these kind of people.
That's
Yeah,
really
but
interesting because that's what happened with the spiritualist movement in the late 1800s. You know, it started with the Fox sisters, which a lot of people think that they're American. They were actually Canadian, and then they moved to New York State. And of course, they started the spiritualism movement, which moved all across North America and over to Europe. But after the wars, we saw a big spike over here as well with psychics and mediums, and that's exactly what was happening. Is people were trying to get in touch with their lost sons or the lost husbands from the war, and things like that, and a lot of mediums kind of capitalized on that. And then that's when the Society for Psychical Research and some of the other organizations that existed back then really started to investigate mediumship and psychic abilities. So that's really fascinating that Bosnia is kind of seeing that as well after a war.
That usually happens in the time of turmoil when people are looking for answers. And of course, their loved ones die so abruptly and suddenly, so people cannot reconcile with their death and they're looking for contact. And what happens during that time with the deceased ones that were not intending to die and did not die of the natural causes, of course, those souls that are trapped in between the worlds, they have an unfinished business and they are walking around the earth trying to find somebody who will be listening to them. And that's, I'm sure, is the case. Now, Aida, that was so interesting that you said that someone brought this black magic into your house. But what was the intent? What was the purpose? And how did that occur?
Actually, it was because as I was married very young, and I went through the horrible domestic violence at that time, at young age. I was kept, let's say, like over my will over there, and I was promised everything, actually everything that you can imagine, but it was all false and lie. And I went to my school holiday over there, and I stayed, and I've been through all these things, and I actually escaped United States when I was 18 and a half, pregnant. And intention was to revenge to me because I escaped without informing anyone. It was overnight decision, just to save my life, when nobody wanted to help me. And that family, in order to try to revenge to me, they did a magic which was, first we have to understand that there are many types of the magic. There is specific magic that is made to make two people love each other. Magic to make someone sick to that extension that he get the worst, diagnosis, such as cancer. Then there is a magic that happens to me at that time to make me look crazy, so that they kind of try to get the baby from me, to take it from me. So, and this is the reason why I start to see shadows, which everybody thought that it's my imagination because I gave birth at young age, but it wasn't my imagination. When I visit one very old lady, which she knew, she wasn't fortune teller or anything. He was kind of, I cannot even call exorcist, because she was, doing some kind of Middle East traditional method of healing people. It's very common in Turkey and as well in Bosnia. And when I visit her, and after she did that kind of small ritual, because I was desperate, it was a very scary moment, when you are very young and you're seeing these shadows, your bed is shaking, you hear noises, your baby constantly crying, you think that you're losing your mind. And I didn't know what's happening. I didn't know that magic is involved, And then that lady said that she described a lady and my ex-mother-in-law and what type of ritual they did over me to make me look insane, actually, to lose my mind. Even to that extent that I commit suicide. It was very powerful. After that visit, I start to feel relief, some kind of, I didn't have these attacks at nights. I haven't seen these shadows anymore. It was kind of an ease for me. And
did you find the objects that were brought into your house?
Yes. After very short period of time, maybe in a couple of days, I heard some kind of inner voice. kind of guiding me towards the location where that object is. And I remember my mother asked me what you are looking for. I said, I'm looking for just something. I didn't know even what I was searching for. And my hand was pointing exactly to the one ceramic, bowl that everybody keep in, like old ladies, they keep, like inside, like we call it vitrine. And it was red, which is very strange, red color, which is very attractive color for these evil spirits. And I pulled kind of very transparent orange paper that you can use in kitchen, to wrap something. And I opened it, and it was a paper, and inside of that paper was my hair, I don't know whose nails, and it was some kind of Arabic letters, which I didn't understand, of course. And then I showed to my mother, and immediately I went out with such an object, and I tried to find a very religious person in my neighborhood. And when I came to him, when I opened my hands and showed it to him, and immediately he said, without knowing me, my life, anything, he just said, mother-in-law. I was like, confused. And I asked him, can you please read what's written inside? And he said, no, I will not. I suggest you to go back home, go to the balcony, burn it. Don't look around after half an hour. Go back. The dust, what's left over from that burn, go and flush into the toilet. And I said, okay. And maybe in a week or two, maybe 15 days, 20 days, I get a news from the United States, from the people that I get in touch when I was over there, that my mother-in-law had extremely bad accident. She was like, lots of her bones was broken. I didn't get this link connections. And later on, I heard also that
returned back to her.
And I heard that my father-in-law died from the thrombosis and cancer, and he was suffering a lot. And then at that moment, I started to investigate about religions, books, testimonials, the people's, what the people were experiencing. And little by little, I was starting to gaining a knowledge, But that wasn't an end. I was hit by many curses. I was hit by a love magic as well. I was hit with an evil eye, which is very dangerous and very powerful. Even in some cases, it may be so dangerous that there are many cases, proven cases from many people, that even you can find the testimonials on internet, that some people, because of the evil eyes, commit the suicide. And I had many relatives who had also these kind of issues, different types. Mostly in Bosnia, you will find magic performed to people to separate two people, like husband and wife. And revenge. People here are like hungry for the revenge. They prefer to use this power, like unseen world power, which is very dangerous and very powerful, instead to come to your face and, deal like face to face to try to solve some issues. They prefer to go to these people who do this kind of rituals to revenge to you. This is most common that so far through my years of experience seen on people that came from the revenge.
I think it is important to know what the curse is, what kind of phenomena is it. It is the utterance intended to invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something. So when we talk about utterances, it can be just said solemnly or not solemnly, but it always has to be said and uttered with a feeling and particular intention.
Yes.
And when this happens, there are dire consequences to that. Here in the West, we mostly dismiss this kind of experiences because we did not or do not personally experience that. However, in those worlds where you come from, where I come from, it is a regular occurrence. It's like people eat and sleep. They go to those places and they search for help from those kind of people. Now, you have been talking, Aida, and it got so difficult to breathe for me because I plunged back into my own experiences
Mhm.
and which were so similar, and I just couldn't breathe. Was so difficult, and you don't think about it because I am, despite being Russian, I'm from Baku, Azerbaijan, and I also survived the war. Although I don't talk about it, and I don't even want to remember that, but
Mhm.
those experiences always stay with you. They are never dormant. They stay with you. And once in a while, like speaking to you, for example, another person who survived those kind of dire conditions, then it comes back in all the vividness. So I applaud you. I applaud you and for going through and surviving all of that, and not just the war, but its horrible attacks. And black magic is not a joke. It's very
No.
powerful, and I'm so glad that you kept your child and nothing happened to him. Is this a boy?
Yes, a boy.
Yeah, it's a boy. How old is he now?
Now he's 21 years old.
Oh my goodness, 21.
Yeah.
Yes. You know that the black magic that we're talking about is so powerful that it is possible to lose a child. And a lot of people do lose children due to black magic, due to some sort of a curse, myself included, because there was also a curse pronounced, and I saw it in a dream. I saw it in a dream while I was pregnant, and that was so interesting that it came in the form of a verse that you had a child and then all of a sudden something happened and you don't. It was kind of like in a children's rhyme or a little song, and surely enough I lost the child. And that was such a horrible experience. And I knew who did that. Of course, here in the West, nobody believes you, and people think that, oh, just that is just pregnancy talking in you, some
Yes,
paranoia from losing a child and stuff like that. But you would understand what I'm talking about, and other people who actually went through those experiences, they're
exactly.
horrific experiences. So we do believe you, and we're so happy that you are talking about it also because those experiences are not given to us just out of the blue. We have to go through them in order to start researching them and educating the public and fighting for the evil in this world. So my heart goes to yours.
Thank you so much. Do you know what I realized after so long? People needs to understand that there is existence of the unseen world, which is identical to ours. When I say identical, I mean that angels and demons, all demons are not evil ones. There are types of the demons that are religious, like we are, and they have their own religion, they have their own beliefs, and they are non-religious one, and they are those who denies the existence of the God, and they live identically like us. They get married, they work, they they have children, they eat, they drink, but only the problem is that we do not see unseen world. I've been told by the very religious people that even there's some kind of in holy books mentions that if we have ability like like some animals, to see unseen world, we would all die immediately. That's how terrific
Absolutely.
it is. So
Absolutely.
people don't have a knowledge about it, and this is a science. You need to study it. I'm sure that like 80% of the people have these kind of problems, but they don't pay attention. They don't listen to themselves. They don't observe the environment. They don't have knowledge about it.
I'm
And
so I'm so glad that you mentioned demons and angels, and some demons are not as bad. In fact, when religions create demons, those were actually gods in the previous religions. For example, when Christianity came, uh, they replaced some the gods that used to exist before uh, with their own gods and saints. But those who still existed at the time, they were turned into demons. However, they used to be gods with their own functions and abilities. So some of them are, in fact, just entities, and they don't have any negative connotations other than those that was told to us by the religion.
but there are also, like in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, you can even find on the YouTube videos with the real exorcist performing exorcism over the patient with different religions. And all of them, same thing. You will even have the testimonials from the demon who is talking through the people.
Right.
Now
Yeah,
it's very
I've
easy to
seen a
search and
couple.
Google it.
I've seen a couple of the exorcisms on there. There was one, I think it was an Arabic exorcism. There's quite a few Roman Catholic ones on there as well, but very fascinating. The one thing I do want to say is I know you guys are both, survivors of war-torn countries, but I look at both of you, and I respect both of you. I interviewed Ada for over an hour and a half once before. I found her really interesting. That's why I invited her onto the show. And then of course, I met Dr. Yana a while ago now, and she
How
asked
come
me.
you still haven't done the interview on me?
She asked me to co-host this show with her, and I really like the type of work that she does, and I just think that although you guys had definitely some rough experiences in life, that it's made you guys better women, and you guys are very strong women because of that. So I think that's something that both of you should be proud of, and I think that's great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
acknowledging that. We are
You're welcome.
so
And I know
resilient.
one of Ada's goals is to try and get the word out there about some of the stuff that she's investigated, and that's why I invited her to come on to the show, because we have all those great listeners out there, and it's really interesting to talk about curses, because like Dr. Yana said, we don't really hear about it a whole lot over here in the West. And when you do, I think of like New Orleans, and I think of like or I think of like the Carolinas and hoodoo, where they do root work and black magic down in New Orleans. In Nova Scotia, we don't really have anything like that. We have curses. There's been like two kind of famous curses. One is the curse of Oak Island, for anyone that's seen the Oak Island show, where they're always trying to find the treasure. Some people believe that the island's cursed, and that the treasure won't be found until 7 people have died. And so far to date, have lost their lives in various accidents trying to hunt for the treasure. So that's interesting. And the other kind of famous curse in Nova Scotia was with one of our bridges in Halifax. So Halifax has 2 bridges that'll lead you over to Dartmouth, and one of them is the Angus MacDonald Bridge, and it's believed that it was cursed by the Mi'kmaq people in Nova Scotia, and because it had disturbed, the building of the bridge had kind of disturbed sacred burial grounds, and the government actually eventually had to go and make amends to the Mi'kmaq, and have one of their chiefs remove the curse from the bridge, because it was designed to deteriorate and collapse. And so we do have curses in Nova Scotia, but nothing like this. So I find this this stuff really, really fascinating. You also told me about a really interesting, what I would call like a superstition over there about hot water in the sinks. Can you tell us about that? I thought that was really cool.
This is not just here. It's actually in religion, in Islam. It's known that to understand this, we have to know that, as I said, there's angels and demons, and there was one who are also good, like many of us. We are not all good ones. Many of us, we are disbelievers, we are believers, we are different religions. The same for them. When they say demon possession, demon can they possess at any time? No, they cannot. There are certain ways that when they possess a people. I'll just mention 3 of them. They may possess you when you're extremely angry. And usually all the religious people, when they who passed away already, which I knew, they will always advise you. You know, when you get angry, you're kind of get some kind of energy, like getting wild, you know. You got some kind of power inside of yourself to that you're losing yourself, and you can even kill someone to that extent when you can reach that level of the angriness, you know.
The affective state. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it's always advised, if you're in state of being extremely angry, if you're standing, sit. If you're sitting, lay down. In that way, you're releasing your body of the demon that attacked you, possessed you in a way, because they like to revenge, as many people, you know, that we know that they like to revenge in this way or another way. They also possess a people who are very fearless. Through my more than 20 years of experience, I realized the fear is the worst enemy of the humans. If we are very frightened of these kind of things, if we fear of the, you know, like movements, noises, and such things, they like to attack you. Because
fearful people.
Yeah, fearful people.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you harm them, which means, as I said, unseen world exists like our world, which we see. For example, if I throw something to your head and I hit you, will you keep calm and do nothing, or you will try to return back to me, or revenge, or hit me, or, you know, get in fight with me? The same thing is in their world. They, from my knowledge and my experience, they live in the dark places, dirty places, abandoned places. They live in sink canalizations. They live among us. They live in the houses where there are statues, there are pictures, anything that has an eyes, even the dolls. We like to, in Balkan, we like to put the picture of our loved ones, you know, like mother, father, kids on the walls. This is very, very, you know, this is kind of through the eyes they get in contact. They possess houses where these kind of things exist. And it's even said that angels will not enter the houses where are the statues and the pictures, also dogs as well. So it is known, and there is cases, if you threw the boiled water to the sink, you may harm them. You can even kill them. You can burn them. And what they will do, they will revenge. Even if I throw towards you the boiled water, you will do the same thing. They will do the same thing, only we don't see them. That's the problem. The problem is that we don't see them, and we do not expect reactions. You know.
What shall we do? What shall we do if we knowingly try to get rid of them by pouring hot water down the sink?
we cannot get rid of them. We will get problems to us. Recently I saw a case of a young boy who was playing in the kind of a park. There is the religious exorcist. He shared this story of a case of a young boy who was playing at night in the park, and he hit something, I think with the ball, or the nighttime is the worst time to be outside, especially for the kids, and especially to go to the dark places, parks, these kind of things. And the devil, which was religious, the same religion as he was, possessed him, and the boy tried to kill himself. And when the guy approached to exorcism, he got in contact with the devil who possessed the boy. And he asked, why boy? He said, he killed my child, and I came here to revenge. And there is also this interview of this guy who shared this kind of stories. And also he shared another story where there was a young boy also with the evil eye who had such a symptoms that he was losing himself. Mentally, he was very weak, and he was so possessed that he didn't reach the guy to heal him. He killed himself. So when we talk about these things, there is, if you go and dig through the religious books and these kind of things, if you spread your knowledge, you will see there are certain things that you have to be careful about. And since my childhood, I was always being told that don't stay out first dark when it's coming. After the dark, it's very dangerous to be outside because, kids likes to play, go to the park or to the dark streets and these kind of things, like where they actually live, that's their life, and you, without intention, without, any purpose or without knowledge, you may harm them, and then you will have a problem. I believe it exists in the whole world, but people don't pay attention. Somebody may have a car accident. Somebody may have constant headaches. Like they say, oh, he walks over, like the bridge. When he fell down, he break a leg, and then you will say like, oh, you're so stupid. You don't know how to walk. These kind of things, it can happen just to disturb you. I had a case a week ago. One of my close friends, her boyfriend, she told me they visit Serbia, and on the way back, it was like 2-3 weeks ago, they was like making a break, and they were sitting on the bench, and very old lady approached to them asking for money, and they said, we don't have, and she said, I really didn't have, because I have a card and I have Bosnian money, I couldn't help her. And he also said the same thing, but he was very rude to her, kind of, tried to push her in a very rude way, go away, or you're this kind of things. He started saying bad words, and she turned around, and my friend, she told me, Aida, I saw her, cursing herself and saying some things that I don't understand. And she said something like, I heard type of the curse, but I couldn't understand. And my boyfriend asked, what is she saying? Did she cursing us? And I was like, oh, it's okay. And then she said to me, we sit in the car and the navigation in the car start to play around, like showing some kind of different directions, like go there, go here, this is the shortest way. And he was like, he pressed, the shortest way toward the home. And she said, we got lost in the village. It was so dark. The navigation didn't work anymore. We didn't know where we are. And somehow they called someone who was guiding them. And she said, after that, he hit the car. He get the fine, police fine. And he's not acting normal anymore. He suddenly started to laugh, like, crazy. And he started to have some kind of angry attacks when he suddenly working normal and then start to punch, like abnormal. And I said, like, okay, she cursed him. He has a curse on him. And she was like, okay, he's about to come here soon. Since you have very big knowledge about this, can you at least talk with him and realize? I said, no worries. I will do some, like reciting, and I will realize what's going on. And he came after half an hour. And first thing when I like to do with the people, I like to observe them, because eye contact is the first and main thing that you can understand if someone has some kind of spiritual problems, because eyes are the window, the portal to the unseen world. Because you see people with very positive energies, bright eyes, like lights from the eyes, they are fine. But if somebody comes, they look like they were cleaning, like backyard, face looks dark, eyes look dark, like deep inside, you see there is an issue. And he came, and I was sitting across him. It was a week ago, I believe. And then he was laughing, he was smiling. He had some kind of strange type of laughing, like I realized what's going on, because she had told me what's going on. And the other friend of mine, she asked him, what's happening? Can you tell us what's happened? He said, nothing happened. What happened? He was 15 minutes laughing. But I realized, since I was inside of myself doing some kind of protection recitation, which blocks the demons or expose them, and he kind of tried to avoid my eye contact. He kind of looked at me over the, like shoulder, and he avoided. And the way he looked at me, I realized that he's possessed. And then I gave him something to recite for me, and he couldn't read. It was Latin. It's not Arabic, it's Latin. I gave to them, it was fine. But he couldn't. His tongue was like, messing around. And I said, I will say, you repeat after me. I will say, I pronounce, you repeat after me. I pushed him. And he did. After 5 minutes, that person became white like a ghost. His hands became so, like watery. And his girlfriend asked me, are you okay? And he said, I have heart issue. Like my heart is like jumping around.
Wow.
And I start to feel the reactions, because I start to give him instructions what he's supposed to do, who to see, and what kind of treatment he should have. And I start to have the backside headache. Immediately I realize what's going on, and I start to feel the pain in my legs, which was, when demon possess humans, it gave example of they circle through your blood. You feel the circulation through your blood. And I looked at him and I told him, your demon is very powerful. And you should seek that in that person. And I was telling to him, your demon is right now attacking me. And he was like, and he kept quiet. He didn't want to speak at all. And I told him, like, he said, I will go tomorrow, but maybe I shouldn't go. And I told him, look, just accept it. Like there's two box, like, or fighting, some kind of fight, and two opponents. Just imagine watching them, and one of them just pulled hands down and wait until this one beats him. You have to pull your hands up and fight. If you're not strong here, if you fear, if you are afraid of these kind of things, you will never solve the problem.
But it also has to do with your free will. This is my understanding, because you said that you were telling him what to do. You kind of made him repeat after you, but he wasn't ready himself. So whenever a person is not ready, nothing will happen.
Because the possession that he has, the demons, they are controlling you. And in most cases, you will see that people will not go to the treatments, especially if the magic is involved. I had a case where I was taking 2 people to the guy who was performing exorcism in completely like 2 hours away from the Sarajevo. And their demons were so powerful. Then I had a hit in my backside of the tire, and my car ended on the roof. My car was completely crashed, and luckily, I didn't have any scratches or something. And when I called the guy, he said, their demons are so powerful, they stopped you in the middle of the road to come to me. And later I heard that the lady that was inside the car with me, she was sitting behind me, her mother was made magic on her with the locks and the sand from the graveyards. Why? Because she was very rich. She was spending money, partying, drinking, going out. They couldn't, kept her calm and doing these kind of wild things. And her mother just trying to change her life, actually threw a magic on her. And that girl never got married. No kids. Now, when you see her, she's like completely lost her mind. And she never saw anyone to treat her because it's so powerful that some demons, it's very difficult to deal with them.
Absolutely.
That's
interesting because I'm seeing a lot of similarities between your demonic cases over there and stuff that we're familiar with over here in North America. You guys are listening to Science and Paranormal, which is broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans and on Roku TV. And tonight we're talking about curses with our special guest, Aida from Bosnia. But talked about on your way to help somebody with a demonic case. We've heard lots of stories about that. I've talked to Archbishop Plato, who is one of my parapsychological religious advisors for paranormal phenomena research and investigation. And he has suffered the same thing. He's fallen down a flight of stairs that he's gone up and down, 100 times when he's on his way to consult on a case and injured his ankle. He's had vehicle issues as well when he's supposed to go meet with somebody that's demonically possessed. You talked about the eyes. That's very common with, people with possessions, about the eyes going dark, or pupils will actually go either up or down so that all you can see are the whites of the eyes. Or there's been lots of reports as well that the eyes kind of turn almost serpentine or look like a serpent's eyes. So I find that very fascinating that, you're investigating cases over there in Bosnia, which have a lot of similarities to what I'm familiar with as well in demonology over here. Now you've had some experiences with jinns as well. I know you and I were talking about a case that you just recently worked on with a dog in the backyard. Can you tell us about that case with the jinn?
Well, there was a case. New house. The people just moved in. And it was right before the midnight, the dog started to behave very strange. And he didn't want to approach his cage. And on the cage, there was a bag with the bones, which was the dog's food. And when the person was reviewing what's happening with the dog, why he ran away from that side of the house to different side of the house, the dog, which is very big, and very dangerous dog, why he ran away and went under the truck, and after multiple review, backward, forward, backward, forward, multiple cameras, we realized that there was an entity who attacks that bag. And we have to know that it's, you can find in the religious books, their food is the bones. And it's also advice to us humans that we never leave a bones in house after we eat. We never leave the dirty dishes, after we eat. Because why? Because that's their food. And that entity that we captured, actually captured with the camera, not security camera. Security camera just catch the reflections of the light, which has a sensor. Like sensor goes off, and when somebody passed by, the sensor goes on, and light comes on. And we found that jinn was actually came to eat that food, which was bones inside. Now the question is, was that jinn religious? Doesn't matter what type of religion, or he came there to disturb the household. This is the case that has to be monitored. But for now, the dog doesn't want to approach the cage at all, especially at nights. He will not go to the cage anymore, because the dogs has a vision that can see unseen world, especially when they bark and there is nobody around. They see unseen world, And what he saw was
really interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting. You'll have to keep me up to date on that one, because
yeah. And when I show the photos to the people when I was, in Boston, it's very common, like in Turkey and Eastern countries, like hookah. We call it shisha. I believe in Azerbaijan, maybe not. I'm not sure. In Turkey as well. It was a place where many, many young men were there, religious. And when I showed the photos, they were like, they smiled. Because why? People who are religious, they don't want to talk about it. They are afraid, because they know if we start to dig, give explanations, give their opinions, they may have gone through the attacks,
Because it happens by the association. And that's exactly is the case. And no one wants to talk about it, of course. And when we talk about it today, it is also disturbing all of those forces as well, because they also can come by association and present themselves.
Dr. Yana, you had a case not too long ago, which I believe involved a possible demonic entity, and you had dropped the case.
I dropped the case.
Yeah.
Yes, usually what happens with me is that I learned long time ago that I cannot be afraid. I just can't be afraid. If I am involved in this kind of activity, I cannot be afraid. So I go in boldly, and of course, not really like with bravado, heroically, oh, I'm going to go just conquer them. This is not the case, because a lot of the times they cannot be conquered. There can be some ancient chthonic forces that are not supposed to be gone, and they play an essential part in human psyche, in the character of the human being. So those are not supposed to be removed. But if I may comment here, that what I found importantly useful in my practice is that when I do the deliverance and exorcism, those two words I use interchangeably, I do not allow them to manifest themselves in any way. And this is how I order, because they have to subject to authority. And I say that I do not allow you to manifest yourself in any way until I ask you and allow you to do certain things. And they obey. So when that happens, when they turn the car, that is such an easy, not an easy, such a common thing for them to retaliate. And people don't understand that. At the beginning of the exorcism should be stated, and the rules of the game should be stated, that you are not allowed to manifest yourself in any way. Otherwise, they're going to call havoc, and there will be screams. There will be spitting. There will be just like slithering on the floor, just like a snake, and all sorts of things. And there can be retaliation. So it's important to tie them, to bind them before doing anything. But Dr. Elliott rightfully mentioned that while I'm not afraid of getting into any of the cases, there are some times, some occurrences that I will not get involved because something there is much more stronger than myself, even people. So those forces that are being evoked are such terribly powerful demonic entities that us as humans, even if we believe that as a people of faith, oh, we have authority over all of them, nonsense, bloody nonsense. A lot of the times that we are not, because we are not the what they call the lions, the kings of the jungle, right? We're not the kings of the jungle. We just kid ourselves. So those types, like you mentioned, Aida, that the cars turning upside down and horrible accidents that happen, it is absolutely possible. And I had to withdraw myself from the case, and I said, I cannot help you. And that happened 2 times in my practice because the implications were so horrible that did not only touch upon my personal life and my health, but also on the lives of my loved ones and my household, wreaking havoc. So sometimes it's easier to remove yourself from the situation than to get your life destroyed.
You're not the first one I've heard say that either, Dr. Yana. My other religious parapsychological advisor, Sister Kia Francis, has said the same thing as well, that when she was working a couple of different demonic cases, she felt that the entities were attacking her son, and she had to intervene. Have you had anything like that happen to you over there in Bosnia with your son? Have you had to step away from a case or anything like that?
That's right, because I like to explain to the people which don't understand how these things function. And I use example like, just imagine a gang, a gang. And every gang, or mafia, so-called, has a boss. And they are members of the gangs, maybe 5, 10, 20, 30, take it as much as you want. And if one of the members attacks some of your relatives, friends, disturb them, get in fight, steal something from them, you will try to help your friend or relatives by either find someone to beat that person or report to police, and police may arrest them, put them in jail. You will try to revenge them somehow, Let's say they end up in jail, And what will rest of the gang crew do? They will go to revenge to you, right? They will go back and revenge to you and your loved ones, the cases from the movies and the many different mafias. They will attack your loved ones. If you are strong, you are not afraid. Okay, you are not afraid, but there's someone who you may be very weak of, your relatives, close one, brother, sister, kids, that they will seek revenge to. And it happens, yes. Each time when I discover a case of the possession magic, when I was giving advice, when I was discovering even the people when they didn't know they had these kind of issues, when I was giving them advices, I was having the revenges. But since I'm so mentally strong and I'm not afraid of these kind of things, they can just try to frighten me. They may try to pinch my body to feel some certain, like pain in the part of the body, which I don't pay attention. If I pay attention.
And Aida, you're like, okay, yeah, pinch me, massage my back. Come on, go ahead.
Yes, but if I get afraid, they will possess you and they can make harm to you very bad. If you're strong, if you're not afraid of them, they are afraid of you because they know that they cannot harm you because
Absolutely.
your will is very strong. But there are cases, very tough and strong ones, especially when the magic is involved, especially the magic which is very old, a magic that's very, very well hidden, that cannot be found.
Absolutely.
This kind of demonical possession is very hard to treat. There are many, many cases that people are trying to find a cure for years and they give up because they got tired. The case is not getting solved, and they just, because it's so strong, very powerful, and it's hidden. As long as it's hidden, it's very difficult, is because with this, the hidden and strong magic, what happens? As I said, there is a gang of a jinn demons. And when this magician who do this kind of black magic, they made a pact with the boss for certain favor. Okay, harm that person, make him sick, make him has a cancer, make him has leukemia or any kind of disease, make him have every day some issues, troubles, never be happy. And he said, okay, you will do this for me and I will do this for you. And one of his crew beneath him will send to possess that person and stay with him to do all these kind of things. And there were even cases where the people were tried to be cured. And when these demons start to talk from them, and when the guy is asking why you were harming this person, leave his body, And there were cases where they were saying, I'm afraid. And they were being asked, why you are afraid? Because I will be punished from their bosses, They may be killed because why? They are not accomplishing their task, which are sent to. And they like to revenge every time, every single time. When I try to help someone, when I discover it, I have attacks, really, or through my body, I feel the pain, or I feel, there was a cases when the door is opening, or you see scratches, like tonight, there was, knocks on the wall. You just have to be so strong, not to fear, not to pay attention to it. Especially if you pay attention to it, if you get afraid and they will say, oh, okay, she is my target. She will be the next victim of mine.
What are some things that you do to protect yourself over there? I know a lot of listeners and people that are just curious about the paranormal are really interested in that techniques that you would use to shield yourself from an attack.
In Catholic religion, when the exorcism is performed, right, they use Bible and words of God. So every religion we all have holy book which is present to ourselves, right. And the words from God is our protection. If we seek protection from a God and use certain prayers from the Bible, let's say, or any book, this is our protection, because, exorcism works upon the words of God used from Bible, any other holy book. Otherwise, you cannot just come in front of me and we will chit chat and I will tell to Jin, okay, I go out. It doesn't work. They will not.
I always tell people that when I'm teaching, parapsychology courses or even on our consent form, actually, to conduct an investigation, I have a short clause in there that just says that we don't guarantee that we can make your problem go away because there's nobody that can, guarantee that. And I always equate it to the fact if you have somebody that you don't like at your house, you can you can ask them to leave, or you may have to physically remove them, or you may have to call the police to have them removed. In the spiritual world, or as you call it, the unseen world, we don't have that luxury. We can ask them to leave, but then that's it. We don't have, spiritual ghostbusters that can go and get them removed from the house. And we can't grapple onto them because we're talking about, something we don't understand and could be on a different dimension than us. So, that's.
But the interesting thing about it, Dr. Elliott, is that people use their own willpower quite often. Some of the, I can't say innocuous, but not as serious cases, they can be resolved by sheer power of your own will. Now, I've been debating our free will, but nevertheless, whether that exists or not. But nevertheless, I've noticed over the years with my clients that they do use their own will, and that is actually produces some good results. Unfortunately, we get to the point of when our lives are ruined, when we are so tired and worn out, then we're
Right.
going to get so angry when they say, that's enough. Get out of here. Stop it. This is my house. Get out of here. So they're putting their foot down. They're exercising exercising, not exorcising. They're exercising the demons, but exercising their own authority. And they listen to you. They do
Well,
listen to you.
Yes, only in ease cases. In very
Right.
difficult and tough cases, no, will
But I
never. You
also,
cannot negotiate with them, definitely.
yes, but it also, in order not to even get involved in this kind of possessions and problems that happened in your own home or different places, prevention is a good way out of it as well. I would like to warn all of our Western parents not to scare their kids, because you see even those stupid videos when people scare each other, and at the time, well, first, people can get a heart attack. Second, when they are so scared, I see that you're laughing, you saw that, right? Yeah.
I'm laughing because Sarah does that to me all the time, and I did it to her yesterday. So she actually paid me back the night before our show. I went out to the kitchen, I didn't hear her, and when I turned the corner, she scared me. So I laughed when you said, people could take a heart attack.
Yeah.
She's
It's
asleep
quite
right now, but
possible.
maybe she'll rewatch this show tomorrow.
Yeah, it is quite possible. We have to be mindful of that, because, like Aida mentioned, in those affective states, that's when the portals opens up, and then
Yes.
they are able to get in without any obstructions. It's like the gates are open, and especially during the Halloween times, uh, our Western parents take their kids to the most abhorrent haunted houses, and that has to be ended. Parents, please do not scare your kids, because if you have a protection, then your children do not have that psychic protection, and anything can get in. And you will think that, oh, my child just had a behavioral problems or some emotional problems, and then you're going to blame it on hormones, on teenage years, on adolescent, young adult, whatever years, right? When in fact, it could be just a simple case, either of possession or obsession or anything, or just attachment. Just an attachment that is going to be sitting there undetected for years. So we have to be very careful, at least preventing that.
Also, to mention, in Western part of the world, like United States, even when I was over there, kids like to play with the witch board, which
Mhm.
I was
it's
going to ask you
kind
about
of,
that. I was going to
it's
ask you
kind
about
of
Ouija board and occult tools.
it's kind of became like Monopoly or some kind of from
Board
social
game.
networks games. It's became so like fun. Oh, this is so fun. Actually, it's very dangerous. Once you call in the entity, whatever entity is, good one or bad one, you're disturbing them. You will have problems, believe me. I know many cases of who was dealing with this, just for fun. And later on, they had extremely, extremely bad experiences with the health, with every other aspect of the life. It's not something that you should play with, because the unseen world is so powerful. Believe me, I had a case. Someone very close to me was possessed with the usage of voodoo magic. Voodoo magic is one of the toughest magic to deal with. And that person became so obsessed with the demon, that mentally couldn't fight. To that extent, that start to destroy everything around the house, because that, like talking with himself in the dark room, these kind of things. And then first thing what you do in these cases, which is wrong, like we call the psychiatry, we call the police, because we don't know what we are dealing with. Maybe he lost his mind, maybe, he's using some drugs or something like this. And I witnessed when the 5 police officers came. This is special force police. This is not regular police you see with the uniforms. This is special force police. And such a power. You cannot even imagine. You see them in the movies and we say, oh, it's just the movie. But no, it's in reality. Those 5 police officers fell down like you throw a ball, to these special figures, like bowling. And they fell down just like that, And the police officer approached me and he said, look, I am Christian, but this person really taking somewhere. He has, possession of the demon. Unfortunately, that person ended up 3 times in the psychiatry, to that extent that they couldn't do anything. Psychiatry is a way that we send people, when they behave abnormal. And what psychiatrists are doing, they will use different medication just to ease the symptoms, to calm down. Usually what they do to the patients, they make them sleep all the time, like they don't have a power to stand, to walk. They look like walking zombies.
They have to be sedated because they can get
Sedated,
violent.
yes. Sedated all the time.
So you're saying they look like me when I wake up after our podcast?
Yeah, you need to go and get rid of your Ouija board now,
I do have one, actually. I do actually have one. It's not open yet, though.
You know what? I'm never coming to visit you. Every time there's a monkey, now there is a Ouija board.
Oh gosh.
I do have one. But no, I don't use it. I don't use it at the home. We do take them occasionally on investigations, and we usually ask the client, if we say we're not getting anything at the house and whatnot, we'll ask. We can use it, but most people say no. What I usually tell people about the Ouija board, where the danger really lies in it, and Aida kind of talked about it a little bit, is we don't know who we're communicating with on the other side. I do believe that it could be a tool used for communication, but the only problem is we don't know who we're communicating with. So, if you use that board and you open that doorway and it's a negative entity, what they tend to do is they tend to gain your trust. So they'll pretend to be maybe a lost relative, or they'll pretend to be a child that has passed on. And next thing you know, you're, starting to develop a relationship with this entity. And next thing you know, you're inviting it into your life. And then that's where they can start to really, really affect you. So that's kind of where the dangers lie with the Ouija board. I don't believe in those stories where people say they lit it on fire and then the next day it reappears in their living room and things like that. I haven't seen that in the 27 years that I've been investigating, but that is the danger, I think, is who you're communicating with. Kind of like
you just have to shut the door now, right? You shut the door and there's a shut the door, shut the door. Like you have this in French, right, on your Ouija board, right? It's a rendezvous.
Right. Right.
Shut the
Yeah,
door.
no, that's I think I definitely think it's risky. What other besides magic, curses, and Ouija boards, what else have you kind of come across over there that open for evil to enter somebody's home or life?
Usually, you can call upon them, as you said, Ouija board. You may unintentionally harm them, and they revenge to you. You may try to help someone who has a problem, and you will face the revenge. You will feel it, definitely, you or your close ones. You can even curse yourself. People doesn't know that. You know, there are cases, I'm not sure if you're familiar, that there's jinn possessions usually to ladies. Not many cases exist regarding the man, where the demon possessed a woman because he fell in love with her. And why these cases happen usually is, ladies like to admire themselves, especially when we are dressing up, putting makeup, spending lots of time in the bathroom, in front of the mirror. Mirror is a portal to them as well, and if you are walking, let's say you are walking, you dressed up, you smell perfect, you have makeup on, beautiful dress, and you're walking, and there's a guy passing by, and he falls in love on the first sight. It's same for them, except that you may not feel that unseen entity fell in love with you. This is also one of the most powerful and dangerous type of the thing that exorcists deal with. It's very hard to take this demon out of the body of the woman.
I subscribe to that for sure, because
Well, you experienced that as a lady.
evil and exodus.
Looking at yourself in the mirror.
No, I never, because I use toilet very, go in and go out. I don't spend time in toilet because I know. Because when I was under this black magic possession, and it was, I had one very scary contact with the demon. I believe which normal person would probably kill himself or end up in the hospital, under the medications. When I was going into the toilet, and maybe it was 2 or 3 o'clock after midnight, and I was opening the door, and I didn't turn the light in the toilet. The light was in the living room. And when I opened the door, but at that time I was possessed, I was dealing with the magic, black magic. When I opened the door, I saw a demon, female demon, with the face that you can see in the, like in the movies, with teeth, and everything, drinking a water from the toilet, And I was just like, I didn't get scared, but I saw it, and I just leave. I did my recitation, and, and then when you see these kind of creatures, when you get in touch, see it with your own eyes, that you have to be careful, that these things exist, even where people still don't believe it and they deny it.
Well, it really resonated with me when you talked about the jinns that attach themselves to or possess females, because in my Evil in Exeter book that I wrote, it was a case in Rhode Island where a lady had a negative jinn attached to her, and that's when she found the activity in her home would happen. As if she was dating somebody and had them come stay over at the house, activity would happen. And when I got involved, sure enough, I wasn't in the house very long, and then I would start to witness and experience activity. Heard footsteps approach me in three distinct steps. Doors would open and close on their own, lock and unlock on their own. Kids' toys would be manipulated. Electronics would be manipulated. Fire alarms would go off, and they'd only stop beeping if they were sprayed with holy water. Started to kind of move to the children. They would hear scratches in their wall and keep them up all night. There was one night they didn't sleep for 3 days straight. Yeah, it was quite a horrible case, but there was a Arabic medium that had spoken to the family many years before I got involved and had told them that there was this negative jinn that had attached themselves to the lady and basically feels like that was his lady and nobody else's. So yeah, when you said that totally resonated with me for sure. I totally believe in that.
Yes,
also
there.
have,
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry. I have to add here something, guys. And I know that you will support me on that. While we talk about of these crazy cases of possession that are absolutely real, we must understand that, like Aida said, we can self-curse ourselves. Our loved ones can curse us as well. Mothers curse their children all the time, unknowingly uttering the curses over their children. Have to be so careful because the curse of a mother is the worst curse out there. So you can curse your own child by saying nasty things like, oh, you will never amount to anything. Look at your stupid self, right? And we do have mothers speak to their kids like that. Um, and then nothing's going to come out of you, right? You will grow up being dumb and stupid, and you will never be able to keep up any job or any education. You're so dumb. And all of those things, not just only that they stick to you psychologically and on the subconscious level, correct? They stick on you as curses, as energy holes in your body. And what happens in your etheric body? And what happens with that? Also, negative entities, they do get attached and they stay with you because they have a permission of a mother that has an authority over her child. So, not only the mothers and the loved ones can curse their children unknowingly. Sometimes they say, well, damn you, or I'll be damned. Like, this is such a stupid
Yes.
word that we say, I'll be damned. Anything
Yes.
else
Yeah.
you want to say? You just damn yourself all the time. Or like, I curse the day that you were born. Right.
Yeah.
That is an absolute curse. We have to stop cursing ourselves in the first place because there's so many people out there, even with an evil eye, that people unknowingly may curse you and break your energy shield, and you'll get sick and you can possibly die of that as well. So why don't we start with ourselves and stop cursing ourselves and speak to ourselves with blessings and love and blessings? So
That's very fascinating, and
yeah.
you're right. I've heard all those terms used. You
Yes.
so that's really really fascinating. How can people get in touch with you if they have a story to share with you, or say there's a case in Bosnia and they want to contact you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, case in Bosnia, and people are here a little bit. We don't talk. The problem is that people are, like, even when they have a problem, I'm sure in the United States, the same thing. They try to lock themselves in. There are certain people who are, keep for themselves. They try to isolate themselves, not communicating, not sharing their problems, and that problem from the small one became the bigger one, And here, people, as far as I saw, they like to deal with the people who perform the magic. Why? To gain some material things, to gain some, to become famous, to separate someone, these kind of things. Here, mentally, people are not open to talk about these things. I've met many, many, many cases, different cases. We can talk forever about how many cases so far I met, and the problem, as far as I see, each problem, there are individuals who have problem as themselves. But when you start to investigate deeper, when that person opens to you, like you go to doctor with certain symptom and doctor start to ask you, it's like interview, you know, why, when, this kind of things. You have to investigate further and further. And to some point, that person start to talk, oh, you know, my grandmother or my aunt or my mother, you know, I remember from the childhood, they were dealing with this, they had this problem, and then you start to put everything on the board and start to connect the pieces. Okay, maybe you are just, you know, like innocent child or a person who from your background, you're pulling all this negative energy towards you. You was just a victim of your, you know, relatives. You know, most of the cases which I've seen, people were telling me like, you know, their mothers have, their grandmothers have, you know, and it's like passed through the generations. There is no end. Because why? There is something which is linked, for example, to my grandmother, which is never destroyed. It exists somewhere hidden, who knows where. And it passed through the generation.
Well, I know Dr. Yana believes in generational curses because
yes, because you didn't clean your grandmother from this.
There's a couple episodes ago you were talking about was it your grandfather, Dr. Yana, that had wronged somebody?
Oh yes, great grandfather. That's right, great grandfather.
Yes.
And not that I believe in them. I know you believe in something that you have not seen. And this, when you get in contact with it firsthand and face to face, then you know it. So I do know that generational curses do exist and we have to deal with them. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end. Now, Aida, we have to have you back in order to continue this fascinating conversation. And I hope that you do come back. I hope it is not going to be 4 o'clock in the morning for you again.
It's okay.
Yeah, maybe next time we can pre-record one for you. And
yes, we can do that.
We can do that. How can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you?
Well, they can contact you and you can give them my phone number. They can reach me on WhatsApp. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll put them in touch with you. So just for our listeners, remember we do have a website, scienceandparanormalpodcast.com, or you can email us at scienceandtheparanormal@ppri.net. And you guys were all listening to Science and the Paranormal, broadcasting live from the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans and Roku TV. And again, Aida, very grateful that you could join us here, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning, your time. So really, really appreciate you coming on. It was fascinating. I could talk to you all night about curses and this stuff. It's something kind of outside what I normally investigate. So
well, I do suggest you that we start another one, because to be continued, because we never touched to the point of the mediums that I have to tell from my experience. Haunted house, why it happens. Also, there are many topics that we didn't touch, so I believe we have lots of to talk.
Awesome.
We are going to have sequels, guys. So do come back to listen to Aida again, because we're going to be talking about very important issues. Meanwhile, come back and listen to us again and watch us next week, because we will be discussing the terrible truth about religious cults. Next week, next Tuesday, come join us. As always, this has been Dr. Elliot and Dr. Yana. We're going to be seeing each other again. For now, good night, everyone.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.